Welcome to the Eventful Podcast, where real conversations meet big ideas.
This is where the real journey gets shared.
It's honest,
It's inspiring.
and it's always eventful.
Today on the Eventful Podcast, we're joined by Alex and Jesse Kirshbaum, brothers and co-founders of Nue Agency. They began their careers discovering and developing music talent and now build strategies and campaigns for artists, brands, and platforms operating across entertainment, technology, and culture.
Welcome to the Eventful Podcast. We are not your hosts. We are not your typical hosts. We are your guests. But actually, I'm Jesse K, and this is
Alex Kirshbaum.
And we have the honor and privilege to introduce the hostesses with the mostesses, our girls, the Prospect Heights, Prospect Entertainment All-Stars, Meredith Heller and Jessica Lindsay. We're excited to be here with you both. Thanks for having us.
Woo, we're excited to have you.
Thank you for that intro. That was amazing. I can see a podcast in both of your future for sure. So you need to start one.
We're honored to be here with you. We could be anywhere in the world. I think we all could be, but we're super pumped to be chatting it up with you both.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you. And as Jesse said, welcome to the Eventful Podcast. Today, we have two very interesting and important guests with us, Alex and Jesse Kirshbaum. They are collaborators working at the intersection of music, brands, and technology. They started and own the Nue Agency, which sits at the center of how artists, platforms, and organizations come together to create experiences that resonate emotionally and culturally. So we've worked with Alex and Jesse for how many years now? Probably over 10?
10
Yeah,
years.
10 plus years. And we have done some really fun events together. We've hired a lot of talent through you guys, and you live pretty interesting lives. I know Meredith and I always admired your business, and you've always been an inspiration to us when we were starting our business and as we've grown. But welcome to the podcast. And Alex and Jesse, I'd love you can intro yourselves and tell the listeners a little bit more about you.
Yeah, appreciate you having us. This is so much fun. This is a what world premiere for me on the podcast circuit. I'm a lot more behind the scenes. Jesse loves to be out there front and center, and he's really good at it. And I'm a lot more of a kind of a mantra of you take the credit, I'll take the check mentality. Or in this world, could be unlegited shares, it could be cryptocurrency. There's a lot of ways to slice the cat. But really excited to be here to dig in. You girls mean a lot to us. We love collaborating with you. We love your rise, and we're excited to dig in.
And it's a real treat to be able to have Alex out here with us. This is our first time ever doing a podcast together. This is the first time I've seen him in the seat. And so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like I'm flashing back to like the old home videos of us growing up at like Thanksgiving, doing little plays and theatrical events with our cousins.
Well, you might actually have to send us some of those videos so we can clip them into the recording so people can see the early days of you guys. But we'd love to hear a little bit about how you found your way into this work. I would love for you first to tell everybody a little bit about what you do, what the Nue Agency is, how you guys work together, where you live, just a little intro about what you're doing and what you're up to right now.
Yes, so we run a culture marketing agency, Nue Agency, and the basic premise is helping brands connect to their audience, community, consumer, really through the power of entertainment, technology, and the cross-section of that space, with a real deep specialization in music, and that stems kind of from our background. What does that mean? At this point, we're marketers. I think it's just the way we market is a little less traditional. And the way that we hijack the airwaves is a little bit kind of left of center from maybe the way marketing is done, like I said, from a traditional standpoint. And we'll dig into everything, but that's kind of who we are and what we do. And I live in Brooklyn, New York. As you can see, the Knicks are on a little heater right now, so I'm representing. They won 7 in a row, so here we are.
Amazing.
And I'm based here in Miami. Obviously, I'm from Brooklyn. Alex and I grew up in Park Slope originally and moved to Westchester for high school. And we really started in this world kind of finding and developing talent. So for the first about 10 years of Nue Agency, we were agents and breaking artists. And that was just a great way to learn all facets of the business. I was 22 working in an agency when I decided, instead of going the traditional route of mail rooms and, giving my 20s away to the big agencies, that I try to go indie and go boutique, and found a firm that said, if you can sign acts, then we'll let you skip even being an assistant. I don't know if that was good or bad, but I was definitely ambitious and not the best assistant. Definitely, you'll see my handwriting. I've gotten way more diligent, but at the time I really just wanted to get out in the action and make things happen. And so at 22, I signed the Clips, and they went number 2 on the pop charts. And my career as an agent really started to take off. And through my 20s was working different kind of positions in the music and tech space, and then eventually started Nue Agency, and we were representing artists and had some really good luck right out of the gate, signing acts and doing things a new way, really leveraging technology and the tools that were of the moment. And Alex was living in Florida. A little bit reverse engineering here. I wasn't in Brooklyn, but I was in New York, and I was calling him. I had an office in Harlem out of a friend's firm called DigiWax that let us kind of get this thing off the ground, and basically working in like a closet or first on his couch, booking acts like Swiss Beats and Mims, and then signed Wale on MySpace, met J. Cole through him, and then signed Mike Posner when he was at Duke. And I just started to call my brother and be like, we've always dreamt of working together. This has kind of been our dream. He had interned in the music business in college at Koch Records, an indie firm. And he was working in real estate in Miami. And I just kept calling him. And then finally, he was just like, let's do this. And I kind of flew down to Miami. It was Winter Music Conference, and we packed up his Prius and drove back to New York and started working together hand in hand. And that's when things really started to take off with Nue Agency in the artist representation side. And we did that for about 10 years and then changed our business model to representing brands. And we've now been doing that for about 8 years. Nue Agency's been in business for 18 years this November.
Well,
So
congrats.
it's amazing that we're still in business. We pinch ourselves every day, that we're still out here kicking, doing amazing things. But it's really just such a special experience to be able to work with your brother, have this dream for so long. And, our story is really one that we've had this dream since we were young, to be hand in hand and to be together. And now we are doing things that have pinch me moments on a regular basis.
Wow. That's such a fascinating story.
I'm curious to know what early experiences shaped how you think about creativity, collaboration, and strategy.
I think part of it's just being true to this. Like I said, we're original New Yorkers, and we grew up collecting things and being kind of on the come up when the 90s hip hop movement was rising, and just all of these moments that culminated for us were kind of, a lot of them were inherent in nature. And I think they kind of married to our personality types and lifestyles. But we were just there when the first Nintendo came out, when Atari came out before that. Like, we were diehard collectors of sneakers and hats and the original starter jackets and baseball cards and football cards and basketball cards. So I think part of it was just like a little bit of luck in terms of the time we came up, and then just staying really true to that throughout kind of our career.
I'd love to hear about how you represent brands and what that means from a marketing and agency perspective. What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, and Jesse's kind of said, obviously, the evolution of talent representation, which was beautiful because with a hot roster that we had, we were loving the finding and developing and the disruptive marketing that we could kind of justify through. Once they got bigger, their talent fee for performances got bigger, and that's how we were making our money. And then we were, in a lot of ways, the last line of defense for talent when it came to brand partnerships or anything that knocked on the door that was interesting. It could come in all shapes and sizes, anything from YouTube and Spotify to PepsiCo and Dr. Pepper. So ultimately, I think at some point we realized, once talent became who they were and were getting consistent larger fees, our role became that of booking agent. And we didn't really love our positioning in the totem pole. A lot of our creative juices were squeezed out. We were kind of getting marginalized by talent in some ways. We had bigger agencies poaching talent, and we kind of knew at some point the writing was on the wall. And we really started to nurture a lot of these brand relationships that were coming in, and helping them navigate the complicated world of music. And so we started, even on the side before we stopped representing talent, started to consult, sometimes agnostically. I mean, the buck stops with the talent. So when you had a deal that would come in for an artist, sometimes you couldn't make that deal happen. And instead of walking away from those deals in some instances, we would figure out how to kind of manifest something with that brand. And that led to us realizing this could be a path for us. And we had some hot clients too. I mean, we helped Spotify in 2011 launch in the US. While we were full on representing talent, they hired us. They had five employees in the US. I mean, they were already a $1 billion brand coming out of Europe. And we had some insight that they were moving into the US. And we were kind of like, this is the wave. We knew a lot about music tech. And we were like, this is going to happen. So we helped consult for them. And we did a myriad of things, but we married them with a lot of colleges at the time who we had amazing relationships with through the talent we were representing. And we helped them figure out how to do this whole cross-pollination and marketing and promotion that led to some of their, first downloads of the app. So that type of stuff. And that was like a lot of the evolution to figure out where we were going.
And we use a lot of the same methodology that we did when we were finding talent, to find ideas, to find deals, to create lanes, connect dots for clients. We, as Alex said, a lot of the same methodology. We're rubbing sticks together. We're running plays that we've run numerous times. We know these big kind of culture tentpole moments. So when you're breaking a band, it's a lot of the times the 0 to 1 is one school of thought. And then the 1 to 100, right, to getting to the top of the charts is another school of thought. And then staying at the top of the charts is another school of thought. And so we apply those different kind of methodologies to different brands, different clients, in where they're at in their kind of marketing or release cycles.
Wow. Wait, should we hire you guys at Prospect Events to help our brand?
It would be a lot of fun to talk about where you're at and where you want to go and how to get you there and who we need you to collab with. Who's on the remix to get you to the top of the charts. Which one are we going for? Are we going for the dance charts, or are we going for the rap caviar?
We love a good remix. We love a good remix. All the way back from when Mariah said, "What you gonna do when you get out of jail?" And ODB said,
"I'm gonna do the remix."
Yeah, I think we'd go for the rap caviar for sure. And then we want to get to the top of the charts and stay at the top of the charts. So
all right. Okay. All right. You tell us when we're ready for a working session. That could be the part 2.
We've talked about collaborating for so long. We really need to, but I know you two guys are the busiest guys we know probably, and vice versa. We're all over the place all the time, but I love hearing about this because I think you guys know this. I mean, Meredith and I first started working with you before we started our company, when we worked internally working at a tech company, but we're marketers. I mean, the whole crux and origin of what Meredith and I do comes from marketing and our career in marketing. We just never talked about this with you guys. I love marketing. It's kind of a hobby now for me, and I love running the marketing for our business and all of that, but it's interesting to hear what you're doing now.
Over the years, we've planned more than 1,000 events around the world, which means we've spent a lot of time inside incredible hotel properties. From remote ranches to historic estates to urban icons, we've seen firsthand what makes a venue truly work for groups. In each episode of this season, we're highlighting one property that we love or that has seriously impressed us.
Our property spotlight today is the Breakers in Palm Beach. Grand oceanfront architecture, legendary service, and expansive event spaces make it a timeless choice for major conferences, celebrations, and high-impact corporate programs. All right, let's jump back in.
Some of the first talent stuff we did together was like booking your guys' special holiday events and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And we brought like Q-Tip through the doors and Cameron and Lupe
I saw him just on the
Fiasco.
Grammys. That's why. So
Yeah.
I think I'll just quickly give a story. So I didn't know Jesse, but I knew of Alex because I went to an adjacent high school. But my sister, I believe, is Alex's age. So I knew of you and I'd seen you in passing. I actually knew your wife through some people that I had worked with in high school. And we were booking talent. I think it was the Big Sean party. And all of a sudden, Alex walks in the door and I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm on the back end doing the representation for Big Sean. I'm like, I didn't realize that contract was going through you. Because I think it was the name of your business. And I didn't know that was what you were doing. And then from there, I think that was 2016 or 2017. We just kind of kept in touch. Obviously, we kept booking talent through you for many years. And then you were one of the first people we consulted with when we started our business. So we've just kind of kept in touch on that way.
Yeah, I've listened to the pod and I heard a story once that you guys were like telling the story of like at the Soho House
Yeah.
brainstorming names of the company and what the thesis was, but you didn't say who was at that table. I was like, I was at that table. I was there when that was happening.
He was in the gym shooting with Kobe.
You were in the room where it happened that time.
Warms my heart because it was so long ago. It's interesting because you guys are co-founders, but even just business partners, because it's very rare that Meredith and I are sort of definitely on the podcast, but also partnering with and friends with two people who own a company instead of just a sole owner. And I know it's, as you guys know, we know it's such a different dynamic having two people run the company. I'd love to get into that as well, because Meredith and I get so many questions about being co-founders and having two people run the company at the same time as well.
I think a trend, and rightfully so, is that more people want to invest in co-founders versus just sole entrepreneurs or sole owners, because a lot of these decisions require support. I mean, we're all grown-ups, right? And we have lives, and there's things that I can cover and there's things that Alex can cover. And it's really useful to have somebody that's able to kind of pick up slack or to forge forward. It's pretty rare that we'll be on a call together beyond our internal check-ins. We're not co-pitching. We're not really in the same room for business events or parties. That's an expensive call because that means all of our attention from the agency is focused on that one particular thing. So this is a super rare experience to have us both in the room. We only really show up to one family function a year. It's like Passover or Thanksgiving, but definitely not both, where we're all there together. So I think it's very helpful to have a co-founder and definitely very helpful to have a partner. There are some super complementary skills and different skills that Alex and I have, but I feel confident that if I can't make a call or if I can't attend an event because I'm in Miami, or if sometimes these weekends happen where you got multiple things going on at the same time, we can certainly split up the force and be super confident that I've got somebody in my corner that I love, that knows the ins and outs, that thinks along the same way, that's aligned with me across the board, that we can send in and vice versa and get the job done. So I'm a big fan and believer that if you're out there by yourself, you're vulnerable to real life things coming at you. And it takes a village to break a brand. It takes a village to put on an event. It's not the artist that gets the Grammy on the stage that's actually the only reason that person won the award. It's a whole series of teams and events and catalysts that really create success.
And even though there's that alignment and it really is helpful because we're we came from a really dog eat dog world on the talent representation side where everyone's trying to kill you, and it's nice to know someone is 100% got your back. That's changed a little bit in our current iteration and evolution, but at the same time, even with the alignment, we have times when we very much disagree on things, and it can get chippy, it can get contentious. You can see the brotherly side come out on a team call or on a team meeting, and we have to take a step back, kind of reflect. We always find ourselves in a good place. Sometimes it takes, going to a dinner, a Peter Luger steak with your parents or something to fully kind of clear the air. But
Mom to the
ultimately,
rescue
we always
does
get there.
happen.
I mean, yeah, I have a brother and we're super close. Could we run a business together? I don't know, but it's such an interesting dynamic. First of all, we're so flattered that you're both here. So I didn't know that you guys don't both show up to things so much.
It's too much
But I love
redundancy, Jeff.
I love what you said about that when both of you are on something or both of you are in the room together, it's expensive because your attention is focused on one thing. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation because Meredith and I are at the point, you guys are 18 years in. Meredith and I are over 6 years in at this point, but where we're really working together to diversify what we each own and work on in the business, because it is true. If you're both working towards the same thing, then you're two people working towards one goal instead of two people working towards multiple goals, right? And that effort can be spent better places than both trying to work on the same thing at the same time. So we're there right now where we just had a long conversation last night about what her role is and what my role is, and we're in that sort of scaling phase right now. And so it's nice to see that you guys have done that effectively and you're years in and going
It's
strong.
really exciting. It's super cool that you've built this business and it's growing like that and you're at that position. And look, sometimes it makes sense. You want all hands on deck. So I think you really have to understand, again, how nuanced and bespoke these custom boutique agencies are. And so there are times where you want to come at this where it's both of you or it requires everybody's kind of certain superpowers, but you have to know what they are. And Alex and I, fortunately, know where we complement and where we don't and where our voids are. It reminds me, I was with Bobby Brown out here in Miami, and she was explaining that she loves a posse because she knows how inefficient she is in so many different ways. So she's such a big enough personality that she rolls with 4 or 5 people that can do the different things that she can't. And that's how she's been able to excel. It's all case by case, but I think you two have very different skills in some regards. And so we're happy to lend our expertise on how we approach things.
Yeah. And then last night I was reading something about Y Combinator. People don't know what that is, just look it up, but it was all the rules of Y Combinator and what they tell the people who get into their program. And you must have more than one founder to be in Y Combinator. They don't accept people who only have one founder because of the exact reason that you're talking about. They're much more they're much more likely to be, invested in or acquired, or they're just much more attractive to Y Combinator and just like VCs in general, having two co-founders because you have that push and that pull of that dynamic, the different opinions, different skill sets. Meredith and I, we have so many conversations where I'll say something and then she'll bring something up that's such a good point. I didn't even think about it, right? Or she'll have a solution to a problem that I've been thinking about that I can't find a solution to. So having two brains is so much better to me than having one. It makes so much more sense.
It's awesome to be with somebody that you love like that you've had all this career, that you've been through different chapters, that you know the ins and outs of how you think and can kind of use each other as thought partners. And then all this amazing technology that's at our fingers. I mean, how fun is it to be able to have Claude and Chat and Gemini? We have the best thought partners ever right now, beyond all the ephemeral connections and touch points and being in the trenches and being in the streets and being in the suites that our experiences have allowed us. It really puts us in a unique position to be able to speak kind of both languages.
On this topic, because you obviously are both co-founders, Jess and I are too, You obviously have different skill sets. So I'm curious to know how your skill sets kind of complement each other with running your business.
Yeah. I mean, we wear a lot of different hats, like small agency, boutique, independent. I would say there's definitely like Jesse's much more of a lightning rod for bringing things in. I mean, I have great relationships too, and I meet people all the time, but Jesse's really out there on the podcast circuit, moderating panels. I mean, we have an amazing newsletter called Beats and Bites that goes out once a week that chronicles everything we're excited about at the cross section of really entertainment technology and brand marketing. And it's amazing who's who reads it.
Subscribe.
Awesome. And so that's in Jesse's voice and name. Jesse's a really great lightning rod. I think sometimes he wants to be the good guy and be friends with everyone in some aspects. So he can be good guy. He can kind of bring it in, bring it to me. I start to figure out like how to make that into something that could be a business relationship. And then Jesse comes back in. He doesn't step out. I need him at certain points to come in and figure out the creative and the strategy and other aspects. And we have an amazing team as well that helps with that stuff too. Samantha Norwick, who's been with us from very early days and has seen a lot. And she's really a backbone of our organization. And she's best in class at kind of the things she does. We make some of this stuff look easier with some of the team we have involved as well. But that's one thing. And then so I'm much more biz dev and I'm a little more aggressive sales. And I like that role kind of. But with that said, we're problem solving. We both have to wear different hats, figure out how to kind of support each other and complement each other, even if it's out of our comfort zone too.
It's amazing how things really even go back to the roots and the essences of who we are as like a big brother, little brother relationship. Always there was a point, being 4 years older than Alex, that I was more out there and he very strategically and savvily played this kind of second role. But when I wasn't around, was able to, show that he's got all the skills and more. It's like I taught him everything I know, but he knows all the other things that he knows just by living in a young age of kind of growing up together. So it's funny how our personalities continue to have manifested in this way. I think also though, we have different interests. We have different lives. We have different kind of passion points. We went to different schools. Like we have different friend groups. I really gravitate and enjoy being with the artists and finding these kind of creative breakthroughs. And I think Alex really enjoys the sales and the kind of high level deal structuring. And so we know that, okay, I'm going to go to this conference and he's going to give me hit lists and I'm going to know what's going on. But really, a lot of my kind of strategy is going to be in seeing what comes in and seeing what gravitates towards me. Whereas Alex is very strategic. He's the bulldog. He's the sales guy. He's the follow up. He's the one that's, going to hold everybody accountable to the letter of their word. Alex is a very ethical, trustworthy, reliable person. It's hard to find folks like us in the music business, in the entertainment business, in the marketing business that is going to follow up. If they say they're going to do something or going to do something, that care about all facets of this, and that care about the relationships, that are thinking long term, but also really focused on short term results. And so I think when you deal with both of us, I might be a ball of energy that's lighting a room up, and Alex is going to know exactly who and where and what is going to be needed to be able to kind of move forward on various initiatives that we're juggling.
That sounds like a perfect match.
Big match. I think Meredith and I have a little bit of that, but that's also what sets you guys apart, right? Is that follow up, the authenticity, the transparency. Meredith and I were talking to somebody yesterday and they said, how many of your clients do you provide white glove services to? We were like, all of them, I think, because it's that follow through, it's the follow up, it's the communication, it's building those relationships. That's what creates your business, right? There is no client that's white glove for us and clients that are not. We treat them all the same, big or small, because it's about those relationships, which I think is exactly what you guys are saying. So
That's a strong suit that companies like ours, boutiques, really have, is that you get to work with founders that are really seasoned, that are willing to do white glove handhold service. If you're at a big agency, you're a folder on a desk, you're a file and an account, you're working with 15 different project managers that might or might not even be able to, be able to follow what you're saying or be with you over the long term. The fact that you get white glove service from an agency and founders like yours is really special for a client that wants something done at a really high level with specific tastes.
Yeah, agreed.
We spend a lot of time on this show talking about what actually makes events work, how strategy, leadership, and momentum come together in real life. That's exactly why we built Prospect 365, our partnership model for teams producing multiple events each year who want a strategic partner, not just a vendor. We stay close to your events calendar and your marketing goals, giving you consistent expertise, predictable support, and a team that truly feels like an extension of yours. If that sounds like the kind of support that your team has been looking for, you can learn more at prospectevents.com/prospect365.
I want to hear, you touched a little bit about on AI, obviously in the age of social media, TikTok, all those things. And you guys are really at the forefront of everything: entertainment, culture, marketing, branding. I want to hear a little bit about what feels different about how brands and audiences and maybe even artists connect today, and also sort of that technology piece. So as you said, you guys have been doing this for 18 years. You've been at the helm of all the changes that everybody's seen in tech and in their lives in the past 2 decades. So I'd love to hear how that is now and how it's different from when you guys started.
We really believe in talent and founders and bright ideas and concepts first and foremost. So it's all about finding what we think is a bright light, an opportunity, a strategy that we know is executable on a really high level. And then technology has been in our mind an accelerant. We thought of it as a savior to the music business. At the time, it was a really contrarian feeling when we were starting this company. Everybody looked at these streaming platforms and these tech platforms as what was going to destroy the music business. And it did. It destroyed the business that was and gave birth to a much better business than it it was, and kind of shining a light on where it's going. These are the pioneers that we befriended, that we gave awards to, that we ushered in the door, that we told the artists that we were working with that you should learn more about or collaborate with. We really believe that tech should be included in every facet or into every campaign in some component, as the amplifier, as the accelerator, as the kind of wild card. I really think that there's this kind of force multiplier in the multi-hyphenate. And that's a lot about what our company's strength is. We may not be the strongest entertainment agency. There's other agencies that are going to have their artists or their kind of foothold there. We're not probably the strongest technologists. There's other companies that can tell you really about technology, but the intersection of brand marketing, technology, and the space of entertainment, when you want that powerful force multiplier, that's where we're strongest. And so we really think that technology is a big component of what we do. And there's so many different facets of how that could be. If it's, media partners, if it's special marketing tactics, if it's different ways to kind of bring attention or to create customer experiences. We really believe that tech and entertainment and what brands want, that's the kind of secret sauce, or at least that's the kind of formula or one of our formulas that we incorporate into all of our strategies.
And it's funny because like music and tech like used to be like a thing, right? You'd say like, oh, music and tech. We saw it like the fall of physical and the rise of digital, like Jester say. Like in this day and age, it's kind of funny to even think of them as separate because they're so synonymous. That's just like the way it is now. It's not like, oh, that's music tech. That's just how music's consumed, how every aspect of music is functioned around technology. So they're just completely synonymous now. So it's hard to even make them distinguish. But I will say you have to kind of straddle the line because there's so much with tech that becomes overwhelming, and first mover advantage and what might be today is gone tomorrow, or what you think today is not really as fertile ground that you're standing on isn't as stable as you think. So like you have to be nimble and being able to pivot when it comes to tech. And we're people who are early adopters. We've been kind of lucky enough to be around the rim on a lot of major moments happening, and we've trusted our gut instinct. And a lot of that is around talented founders who have big market opportunities around them. And then you're not always right. Right. Like sometimes you're making a bet and you're aligning yourself with people. And a lot of times we have, but a lot of times we haven't, because some stuff is cool and it still fizzles out. There's stuff that you're like, oh, that's then that becomes the flavor of the month in terms of a new thing that people are playing with. And it maybe hijacked the airwaves and is something like cultural shifting, but it doesn't actually stay for a long period of time. You have to be able to kind of like test the water. If it's hot, dump gasoline on it. If it's not, kind of be able to pivot quickly to something else, and being able to kind of also deal with the overwhelmingness of what technology is now today and as it pertains to music, and being able to still kind of like straddle the line. Don't get left in the past. Be utilizing technology, be embracing it where you can. But if you're the type of person who really still is, your sensibilities much more focused around authenticity and realism, go see a concert, go get that blood, sweat, and tears feeling, go do something that's going to be more centered around real life, and put down the technology, and then come back to it when you're ready.
Okay, so what signals that an idea or collaboration is worth pursuing?
So, I mean, it's really fun when you throw a couple logs on the fire and you kind of start to see that catch. Like in our world there's kind of no drug like momentum, so like you can, again, it goes back to kind of what I was just saying, but when you make a bet on something, or you say we get our heads wrapped around this and we understand how this all makes sense, when you start to bring it to market and you see the consumer resonate with that in the same way that you thought it was going to work, it really becomes a snowball effect. And there's a point in that where it's a decision of let's go all the way in, or this isn't going to work. We've already put enough time towards this, and you move kind of past it. And that's on all aspects of collaboration, because some collaborations we're doing are big brand, big talent, you know what I mean, type of thing. I have right here like, something we did with Quick and DJ Khaled, where we made an original flavor of a chocolate milk and an innovation with Nestle, and kind of an unprecedented deal. So we're doing those type of collaborations, but then we're also doing brand on brand collaborations, and we're doing collaborations with tech companies and brands or things of that nature. So each collaboration looks a little differently, and you have to kind of assess one on a case by case basis. But I will say there usually is a critical point in knowing if a collaboration is going to work, where it's like, all right, you have to test what the audience and consumer is going to think, and kind of see if your bet makes sense in that configuration.
Come work for you guys.
This is
Fascinating.
so cool.
Well, I actually started my career working at ad agencies. And so it just kind of ignites that sort of spark. I love that creativity and the brand collabs. And I think what you guys do is a bit similar. I mean, obviously you work in events, and that's how we met you guys, because you help with the talent bookings and all of that, even though that's only one part of your business. But I think what you guys are very good at is between the brand moments and the talent moments, and you're really producing emotion. Like what is going to sort of light people up and make them interested in what's going on. And I think what Meredith and I do, it's similar to that, because of course we do live events, but we're always trying to create a certain feeling in the audience. We're trying to create interest in with what we're doing and what we're producing. And I think you guys have been doing this for so long, you obviously know what's going to work and what's not going to work from the perspective of everything that you're doing. So I just love the marketing aspect of all of that. And I love the marketing aspect of what we do because it's all about creating interest and emotion in whoever the audience is, whether it's a live event audience, whether it's an audience watching a performance or watching a video or something. Sounds like you guys you've crushed it, and that's how you've gotten to where you are now.
We love the collaboration with music and with talent. We realized, very early stages in my life when I was throwing parties that the difference maker in the events that I was hosting in high school, in college, in London, study abroad was that music was making these events so much better. It was giving it a new story. It was giving it a new soundtrack. It was by bringing in DJs and artists, all of a sudden people were buying tickets and lining up. And it just brought so much more excitement and energy into an event. And where we've been positioned as agents, initially representing artists, we got to learn all the different facets of the business. But now where we sit is completely agnostic. So we have a much more holistic view of all of the different facets of the music and entertainment business. If it's the agencies, the managers, the record labels, the DSPs, the middle agencies, it's very confusing how to book a great act at the right price for the right experience, right? Who's the artist? Why is the artist? So we do use technology and data to kind of inform our decisions, but really we have such a deep knowledge of all of these years of experience of all facets of the entertainment landscape that we know that every event, we don't necessarily produce the events. That's your specialty, but we know that our lane of what artist makes the right sense for the budget and also for where that artist is in their cycle and how we're going to get that artist excited and go above and beyond. The best collaborations are not, let me hold the cookie, as Pharrell would say. It's let me put this thing on my back. It becomes a lifestyle. What Pharrell's doing with Louis Vuitton is so much more impactful than what he would do with Perrier in a one-spot ad where he's
And what he
holding
wanted to do with Oreo, remember that story, Jess? Like,
yeah.
it didn't ever come to life. Oreo wanted to do something with Pharrell. Jesse brought him to the factory. He saw them coming off the conveyor belt with cream in the middle, still warm. And he had all these ideas, and he was just riffing, like, basically on the spot, being like, I want to turn every manhole cover in the city into like an Oreo, because, they kind of look like Oreos, like advertising on the manhole covers in the city. I want every spin wheel on a computer to be like an Oreo. He had all these crazy ideas. And we've always realized as collaborators, like, you want to lean into the artist's creativity. They might not be able to flesh out all the details of how that comes to life, but if you get their ideas early, they usually have the best ideas because, first of all, they just, are creative geniuses in their own right, but also they know what like their audience is going to resonate with, at least.
And their buy-in in any collaboration just will make the difference. So when it's booking talent, it's not just like, let me get the right artist at the right time. It's what is this artist going to want from this booking that's going to make them go above and beyond? Flashback to a couple of things we've done in the past. When it works, these relationships spawn way beyond performance for a party and some social posts. These can become lifelong relationships that kind of impact the trajectory of these people's lives because these are shooting stars. So we
The
really
picture of Jesse
love
and Pharrell with the hairnets in the studio in the factory is pretty classic. Like,
we love working with talent and we love working with event producers to figure out what artist makes the most sense for a campaign and why that collaboration is going to be a 1 + 1 = 11 formula instead of a 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
and a lot of times people come to us and they say, like, how much does this talent cost? Or something like that. And it's like, there's just no answer to that.
We
That's
ask people all the time.
Yes, we're annoying.
no, what I'm saying, that's the nuance of it because
So tell me how
it's
much they are.
there's so much of like where it is, when it is, with the affinity towards what they might be doing with that brand, their schedule alignment, budgets. There's just so many facets that go into play that you can get some talent at a significant discount and you could pay a significant premium on talent depending on all those factors.
And how buttoned up you want the asks, right? The nice thing is, yeah, you might know somebody's road manager and they might be able to do you a favor, but that artist might or might not show up.
Yeah.
And you want this done and procured at the highest level. So I think that there's a lot of facets when it's like, how much is this act? It's really, like Alex says, case dependent, but there's a lot of nuance. It's an art and science to this curation process. And it's a big part of what separates us from everybody else is that like we're not representing the artist anymore, but we know all facets of the space so we can give you as producers the best viewpoint of the entire industry for who the right act is at the right time for your specific campaign or event.
And then you want to leave, you have to have a stomach for it too. And you have to follow and trust some of our lead in this stuff when you are on the other side, because ultimately the final level of unlocking the magic comes from a serendipitous moment usually. And that can't be put into a contractual obligation. And if you lean too hard into those contractual obligations of deliverables, it's going to turn talent off. But if you nurture them and you embrace them and you realize what they care about and everyone's voice at the table is heard, you're going to kind of extract the most out of them. And then you're going to get the best deliverable. And that deliverable was one that probably was negotiated at the highest price that you were like, we can't afford. And they'll do it because on the moment when they're feeling that warm embrace and that everyone's taken care of and this is a beautiful thing, they just do that naturally. They do the biggest thing. And we have countless examples of that.
That's the bespoke side of what we all do, right? We're showing up. We're going to be at the event. We're going to make sure that a representative's helping you cover. We're handing the keys over the right way. We know where to make sure that this thing is going to work out the best it possibly can so that you can have the highest level of success for your clients and give the artist an experience where they're not leaving in an interview after being like, I don't know what that was and why I did it, but it was cool. It's like, no, let's make sure that purpose is aligned and that the story is connected and that this goes on and lives on, because you never know when relevance is going to peek its head back on the nostalgic pendulum.
Well, first of all, I'd like to remark that you guys are so humble. And Meredith and I obviously, again, admire you and your business so much. But just for everybody listening, these guys are working with the most popular, talented, interesting, famous people. You guys are at all the coolest events, and you're so down to earth and just so laid back and so easy to work with, so humble all the time. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I think it's very rare, especially with the industry that you guys work in. But when you mentioned DJ Khaled, I actually don't even think I've told Meredith this story. Last year, I was at the Breakers. I was staying at the Breakers and I walked outside to get an Uber. And I think we've all been to the Breakers, but the long sort of driveway, you could hear the music coming from this car from literally the start of the driveway. Okay. So you hear it coming all the way down and then it comes into the entry point with the valets and everything. It's a Rolls Royce that is just like the music is probably as loud as it can go. The bass is as loud as it can go. And the driver gets out. He has a little outfit on with white gloves. And this is real life, not a performance. He has little white gloves on. He comes around to the back door. He opens the door. As soon as the door opens, the music goes, DJ Khaled, like the famous line that he has in every single song. And DJ Khaled gets out of the car, like in real life, because he was staying there. And I'm just like, this is how this guy rolls, literally in a rolls all the time. And I just can't believe you guys work with these people, collab with them. Like so many of them are so eccentric and so over the top. And I don't know, your world is so interesting. I think that's where our worlds differ a bit.
It's a really exciting space. You have to have the temperament for it. You have to love it. You got to really understand that you're in service in so many ways to your clients, to these artists, to the dream, to the customers. So I think we found a career that really matches our personality and our passions. And it's so fun to be able to work with a whole gambit of artists and thought partners and producers and family, our team. It's just a wonderful experience. We're always striving for more. We're definitely hungry. We're not complacent, but it's really cool. There's never a day where I take it for granted that we're on the phone with these monster personality creatives that are gonna drop gems. They're free thinkers. it's so powerful to be able to just say, I'm going to live the life that I want and write my story, right? DJ Khaled wants his song playing with the We the Best floor
Yeah.
mat, and the people around him have been there forever for a reason. He runs it like the circus that he wants it to be to get the results that he can. He's got the courage to step into those shoes and do it. And we want to be accelerators of his. We want to be partners of his. We want to be people that can help him make his dreams come to life. He might have an idea, and we see the dots and have the ability to execute it, or the team specialization or bandwidth to do it. So I love it. I think it's like every week is a different movie set, so to speak. But there's so many lessons that we're learning from these artists and partners like yourself along the way. So we're humbly confident that we're getting better with time and experience, and we're loving the ride.
I love that.
So, because it's called the Eventful Podcast, we ask all of our guests to tell us an eventful moment. It can be your career, it could be personal, but I know we have two people on this, so I don't know if we have two different ones or if you have a combined eventful moment, but we'd love to hear.
The answer that we thought of was that kind of critical moment from talent representation to brand representation or culture marketing agency or creative music agency evolution into culture marketing agency. That moment where we were on the other side of the coin and we kind of had a little bit more sky's the limit scenario to create and manifest our own destiny, become the builders, become the collaborators with the talent in creative ways, really changed our positioning and our mentality and has allowed for a little bit more of a runway into what the future can behold after this, because there's more evolutionary states for us, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so much that goes into a pivot, and changing our business model was a whole process, from hiring a branding agency, Red Antler, to bringing, and advising the whole industry that we no longer represented artists, to, having to turn down calls from artists that wanted us to represent them. It was a process to kind of get us to where brands started to fully trust us with their entertainment and music strategy. And we have so much respect for that, but we know that you have to be willing to make these changes. You have to be willing to lean into these kind of pivots. And that was one for this company, for Nue Agency, that took a while to see it. And then once we did, we've never really looked back, except for some passion projects, perhaps. But for the most part, like Alex said, this is a constant evolution, and the world is changing, and there's all these new dynamics. And I think you do something for a great run. We saw a void in the market where this world was changing and brands were trying to figure out how to play more effectively with musicians, and emerging artists weren't getting the looks from brands. And then this creator economy in the 2020s really kind of changed the rules. And now we're looking at where things are going and where our strengths and skill sets and relationships lie. And we're constantly thinking about where are these next big opportunities that the landscape needs that we can really bring to the equation.
I love that. And I
Me
think
too.
as an entrepreneur, you always have to be scanning for ways that you can evolve, for new opportunities, and how you can grow. Well, we are so grateful again that you guys could join us today. I learned so much from you. We could talk for probably 2 more hours. I really wanted to get more into also the crazy moments that you guys have seen along the way. I know you have
That's
a
for
lot,
another podcast.
a lot stories and a lot of just like fascinating encounters and experiences that you could probably share with everybody. So we'd love to have you back on at some point, because an hour is just not enough.
Yeah, as you know, we're a lot of fun at a dinner table, because some of these stories will be off the record for sure, but there's never a shortage of a what the heck just happened moment.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And I think probably our listeners have learned a lot and hopefully been inspired by everything that you've shared. Again, Meredith and I admire you so much. And when you move back to Brooklyn, we're all gonna go out to dinner when we can all get to the city at the same time.
Yes.
I can't wait, or we'll see you in the Hamptons or some amazing event that we all work on together. It's so courageous and so cool that you two have created this podcast and built it as an arm of your business and out here telling stories and shining your light on collaborators and learning new lessons along the way, and sharing that with a larger audience. I completely admire it and think it's so smart because honestly, it's a new facet to sharing your personality, your skills, and your company. So we're
Yeah,
rooting for you. Like Alex says, we're always early. He was there early when this was all kind of coming together, and we think it's just early stages too for what you have potential to do. So we're honored to be part of season 2, and we'll look for our part 2, down the line.
the feeling is mutual and reciprocated, and we can't wait for our next one because the next one's always the best one. So let's get it.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
It's great to see you.
Thanks for listening to the Eventful Podcast. If you loved this episode, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and catch us on Instagram at the handle @theeventfulpod. See you next week.